Introducing Lawrence Firestone with 22nd Century Group.
We'll give these guys a second to get settled. Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome to 22nd Century Group. I'm Larry Firestone. I'm the CEO. With me here is Dan Otto. He's our CFO. And I joined on December 1st of 2023, so I've been here 5 months. And I've been doing what I do. If you've followed 22nd Century, I've been doing what I do for about 43 years. And that's helping companies get to the point where they realize their potential. So I think there's a lot of potential here at 22nd, and I'm going to take you through it. A little bit of safe harbor. We wouldn't be safe without it. And we're going to tell you a little bit of non-GAAP financials as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about EBITDA at the end, which is, as you all know, non-GAAP. So 22nd Century, just to look at it. We're a Nasdaq listed company with a ticker XXII, and we're headquartered in Mocksville, North Carolina. And we are a pure play tobacco company with a focus a little bit different than what you typically see in tobacco companies. We got to focus on nicotine harm reduction, and that we do with our VLN product. And I'm going to walk you through that here in a little bit. We also have a contract manufacturing segment of our business, which deals with other brands, domestic and international. And the synchronicity between the two of these, so our own brand going to the market and the contract manufacturing, where we're manufacturing brands for other people, the synchronicity of those two is very important. Now, the margin profile for VLN is stronger. It's our product. And when it goes to the market, we garner probably in the neighborhood, a little north of 45% gross margin. Contract manufacturing, just like every other industry with contract manufacturing, is 10% to low teens. So you got to put a lot more through the chute in order to break even. Since I've joined in December, we have a very, very focused discipline on financials and a turnaround mentality at the company. So we're driving hard to get cash positive and profitable operations. And we're also looking at the balance sheet. So we're looking at some debt restructuring that we're working on, and with the goal of getting debt free in the near future. So as I mentioned, we're targeting break even in Q1 of 2025, and that's public information. So I've already told the industry that, or the market that. So let's talk a little bit about VLN. VLN stands for very low nicotine, and that's a key component. So we've been at 22nd Century, we've been developing very low nicotine tobacco strains since 1998, so 26 years in the making. And we brought that product through the FDA, and VLN is the only FDA-approved, authorized MRTP combustible cigarette. And that's modified risk tobacco product is MRTP. So some have tried, some have died. We got through it, and we got it there, and now it's in the market. So we brought that to the market in early 2021, and it's now starting to find its way through the consumers in the market. Now, VLNC is how the scientific community coins very low nicotine content. So you can see how we kind of tied into that as we developed our brand of VLN. So the goal here is that VLN, in quotes, means something, right? So if you think about decaf coffee, if you think about sugar-free, if you think about diet to sodas, that means typically there's a health orientation to that. You know, you may have a coffee drinker who wants not have his heart beating so fast, he's going to go for decaf. So VLN separates as a category for us where we're looking for less nicotine. And nicotine, as you all know, is the addictive factor of cigarettes. So we have a long way to go through the population of smokers to get to the point where it seems like everybody's talking about a no-smoking world, but we got a long way to go there. So the strategy with the brand, one of the strategies with the brand is to attach VLN to other brands. So our VLN cigarette, which is, let me find my pointer, right in here, these two little guys. Right now, that's the only VLN brand in the market. And if we can put a VLN presentation under other brands, then it becomes a category. And so that's what we're looking at right now. And we're talking to our CMO customers about having a VLN SKU under their name and also some of our other brands as well. But VLN is synonymous with smoker health. And I know that sounds funny, but it helps you smoke less. And I'll walk you through that. So as I mentioned, the VLN brand stands for something. And very low nicotine, less addictive. There's a lot of characterizations to that. But we've put together a very plain package. And so it's going through a rebranding exercise right now. And we're going to add some pop to the pack. We want people, when they go to the cigarette aisle, we want them to see the pack. We want them to see VLN. We want them to see very low nicotine. Today it says 95% less nicotine. And we want that to sink in, start to permeate the brain. We want customers who are looking for low nicotine to find us, to be drawn to the pack. But more importantly, as is in other industries, we want to be a disturbance. We want to be an annoyance. There's a lot that happens in big tobacco. We want to upset the apple cart. So everyone who talks a good game about transitioning out of cigarettes, we want them to know we're a tool that they can use, and we are the original and the only. So we want to bring that to the market in a way that's disturbing to the normal smoking economy that happens out there. So our theme is death to smoking, and we'd like to see more people quit. We have testimonials from people who have smoked our VLN cigarettes, have tried to quit for, I think one woman I talked to, she tried to quit for 40 years. It's completely off cigarettes now, thanks to VLN. So when you think about parallels to other categories, you've got liquid death. I'm sure you all know liquid death, which means death to plastic bottles. You got White Claw. These are first market movers. You got White Claw. You have Miller Lite, Heineken Zero Alcohol, Gatorade, Red Bull, etc. So the goal here is that we want to be the disruptor. We don't want to blend in. We don't want to be just another product in the aisle. So I go through the math. Now the math is really important. So if you're a smoker, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, one pack of 20 cigarettes, that's a pack of cigarettes, one pack of our VLN cigarettes, from a nicotine perspective, equals one standard cigarette. So if you think about that, when you go through the motions and the sort of the psychology of smoking and the motor skills that go into that, as people are smoking, they'd have to smoke a whole pack to get the same amount of nicotine that you have in one cigarette of the regular cigarettes. So that's for the market. That's for the consumer. Now for us, what do we need from VLN right out of the chute or as we grow? We need 223,000 cartons going through the market to break even. And we have 51 points of distribution right now. 5,100. So what do we really need? We need one carton per store to go through the market, and we're at break even. So that's a huge shift in the way our company has looked at our financial profile, if you will. So it's not a very big lift. And when we look at the additional distribution points that we want to bring into play, the more we bring in, then the number of cartons per distribution outlet goes down. So when we look at distribution, our team has done a fantastic job with initial distribution. If you look at that top line, those are all blue chip players. Walgreens, 7-Eleven, Circle K, Smoker Friendly. We have Murphy's Oil. So our packs are in plenty of places. But when you look at this against, let's just say, any of the big brands, and I'm not going to name them, we've got about 50 times 5,000, 5,100 distribution points to go before we match and have our product available everywhere their product is. So there's a deep pond that we've got to swim in to continue to add distribution and also add customer attachment. So when you look at our efforts, right now in VLN, we're doing a rebranding. We looked at the pack. We talked to some folks. We engaged some professionals. We engaged a professional branding firm that has done brands. I won't go down their resume, but brands that you'd all recognize. And I would say they're in the second inning of rebranding. So that's going to come together pretty quick here over the next, I would say, 10 to 12 weeks. We're putting together a marketing campaign. And what we're after is customer acquisition. We want customers trying it and having the effect that the successful people who have tried it have. And there may be some smokers out there who just enjoy smoking, and they just want to, like happens with drinking, is they want to be a social smoker and not necessarily addicted. That could play too. Expanded distribution. Our team is already working on where do we go next. So I would say we had an initial launch. The company ran into some financial trouble. We pulled the marketing and made some other adjustments last year in the middle of the year. And now we're regrouping, and we're gonna come back out and add distribution and marketing money to it. And then that should drive increased sell-through. And that's really what we're after, which is increased VLN volume. But the margins that I told you about, that's all goodness for the company. So, our investors hit me up by email all the time with respect to the regulatory and legislative environment that's going on around cigarettes. Like I said, there's a I don't know, I'd call it rhetoric on how everybody in the big influential positions wants to drive smoking out. There's a big economy that's behind it, and that's called big tobacco. I guess we're little tobacco. Just recently, President Biden retracted on his statement to have the ban on menthol. Total political reasons, as it was described. And then, there's other states that there are states that have bans. There's other states that are talking about bans. It's really a moving target for us. I think in the past, people have focused, I know our investors have focused on, for example, President Biden's going to make an announcement and 22nd Century is going to go nuts. We're really focused on, our strategy doesn't rely on the government. We have the science community. They're doing some focus studies, one in Illinois, one in Colorado, to have people try VLN, and they want recorded results. They're going into different pockets of those communities to try different, if you will, kinds of smokers, and they're going to bring the results forward. So there's an initiative happening, sort of a groundswell initiative behind this product and behind this initiative that we're pretty excited about. Another example, though, is New Jersey. New Jersey has put in a rule or a law that says anybody who's selling cigarettes has to sell a nicotine replacement therapy product. That could be VLN. So our team is looking at penetration of where are all those outlets. So if you think about everywhere that cigarettes are sold, there has to be something there in the state of New Jersey. But again, I come back to there's a business here, there's a business model. If the government does whatever the government does at the federal, state level, great. If not, we got to run a business. So that's how we're approaching it right now. So let's talk a little bit about contract manufacturing. That's a picture of our factory. Our goal here is to drive our factory to full capacity at least on one shift. And right now, we run 4 days, 10 hours a day, and we produce about 35,000 cartons a day. So you can see where this can go. This can scale. We can go from 4 days to 7 days and then double that and get 20 hours a day. And we can get quite a bit out of this little factory that we have in North Carolina. Second to that, we have the floor space to double the amount of machines so it can, duplex and fourplex and get to a pretty darn big number. All we need from this side of our business is we need one shift, full capacity, and this will break us even. So we got a couple of shots on goal with respect to getting ourselves financially healthy, sustaining our own cash flow, and not needing to go to Wall Street every time we need cash. That's where we're driving. And again, I mentioned our target is Q1 of next year. So right now our goal here as VLN grows, and we don't really care whether it's VLN, well, we'd love if VLN would take up the whole capacity, but it's going to shuffle in there in some capacity in others. This would be my fourth tour of duty in contract manufacturing. I've been a big tier one auto contract manufacturer, some small electronics manufacturers. There's a service business out there that as we go, we can take some production off of some of these big houses that may not want to have all the staff, all the problems, all of those kind of things that come with it, and put it through our little factory. So I've got kind of a twinkle in my eye about this part of our business. This looks nice to me. Now let's talk about research and development. So I mentioned 26 years we've been doing this, which has really taken out nicotine out of tobacco, which is from mutations and different plant sciences. Really, really detailed stuff. We partnership with North Carolina State University, and with their work and our work, we've got a really, really nice patent portfolio put together around our VLN product. So if you think about, what would we work on? Additional strains. We've got 2 tobaccos that we've got fully into low nicotine land. We've got a third one we're working on, and the more of these varieties we work on, the more strains we work on, the more options it gives us for future flavors and future products. We may we may have a VLN blend that we would send to one customer, have a VLN blend that we would tuck into a CMO customer, and they may taste a little bit different and be just a little different. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. Disease resistance. When you wash out from my coffee business, I call it that, but it's really not. When you take out the nicotine, it has a tendency to reduce the sugars. The sugars are what make a cigarette sweet. So sugar testing in our factory, we're just bringing that in. That used to be out-house. So we're bringing in sugar testing, nicotine testing, everything in-house, so we can do it all real time and get it right. And there's ways to add sugars and affect the flavor. So We have a small team. We spent a lot in R&D over the last 26 years. I'm going to say hundreds of millions. I don't actually have the exact number, but we're now kind of wringing out that final phase. So let's talk financials. Where have we been? Where are we going? It's a little bit of an eye chart. Make sure you guys can all see it. Top right. Last year in the tobacco business, we sold about $32 million in revenue, and we lost $45 million doing it. So it was a pretty big negative. And from an EBITDA perspective, it was a negative $44 million. So you can kind of see where we were, where we're going, where we're coming. So when we talk about breaking even in Q1 of 2025, this is a very, Dan, he's our CFO. He's my wingman, and it's bat phone every day, all the time. So he is constant contact, and we are working this plan right down to the pennies. We did one thing I will notice. I'll point out to you though is the big negative gross profit in Q4. We did write off some excess tobacco leaf. So there was one big nut that came through there that was a heavy hitter, but we had to do it. So it's not like we can manage the numbers or anything like that. As we talked publicly, we brought last year's burn in the company was about $15 million a quarter. We brought that burn down precipitously. It is way down from where it was, and so we're on our track to get ourselves where we want to go. But it's not all P&L. So when you think about at the beginning of this year, we had very little cash. I'll say darn near no cash, and about $15 million in secured debt with both a senior and a junior. And obviously debt repayment comes out of operating cash flow. We didn't have that. So the box was pretty small that we were operating in. So in April, we were fortunate enough, beginning of April, to right around the eclipse time to raise $4.2 million. And of course, that gives us the extended cash runway to drive us to hopefully to break even. We're working it really, really hard. And then on the debt side, same time frame, early April, we restructured. We added a feature to our senior, which is about a $10 million outstanding debt, to allow them to convert their debt into equity as the market will take it. So that was pretty huge for us. And then yesterday morning, we announced a debt for equity swap with our junior, and that's pretty huge. So from the standpoint of balance sheet health, when you add all these up, when you add the cash raise and the debt to equity swap that happened yesterday, that's $9.4 million of goodness that came into the company's balance sheet in the month of April. So we're taking care of kind of both sides of the financials, if you will. We're not just P&L focused folks. And with the road, what we see is or what we're driving to is a debt-free 22nd century, profitable, cash positive, and then we're on our way. So in summary, our VLN strategy is solidified. We know where we're going. We know what we got to do it. It's work in process right now, but we're driving hard to get there. And we're doing all this, by the way, on a very, very small budget. Increased gross profit through VLN. I talked about the gross margins in VLN, critically important with new placements and new volume. Higher margin CMO volume. We had some very zero CMO margins. We've adjusted some of those, and we've actually gone to our customers and increased prices. So with my 3 prior tenures in contract manufacturing, we explain to the customers that we're no good to them if we go out of business. They got to give us some margin. It's got to happen. Otherwise, it's the same answer. They're going to have to take their goods somewhere else, and they don't want to do that. That's a big lift. And then we have some negative margin customers where we're helping them with their business from a balance sheet that we can't afford. So we're helping them out with price increases to them, or giving them the option to take their business elsewhere. And that's okay, because that's all goodness for the P&L and the balance sheet. So we've reduced, I mentioned, significantly our operating expenses. We can't wait to announce our first quarter and show that off and talk about Q2. But that day is going to come in a couple weeks here. And then I just talked about the secured debt and the research on low nicotine strains. So with that, I'd open it up to questions. Yeah.
Harry, you talked about how smart acquisition is going to be very important for us. So partnering with doctors and physicians is part of that.
Yeah, we don't have the ability to take ourselves through the trials to get to a prescription scenario, but we have we have one PhD doctor who's driving that study in Chicago and in Colorado. But we also have other surgeons that I've been talking to who, and I didn't know this when I joined the company, but for example, in Massachusetts, if you're a smoker, you can't go anesthesia. They won't do it. You don't recover well. So there's a lot of outside influences, and I'd say once we have our VLN over the next several weeks strategy defined and branding defined, that's when we're going to, American Cancer Society, Lung Cancer Association, those kind of places where the FDA has us restricted on advertising, but I'll say there's some energy we can create there, if that answers your question. Yeah.
Hey, what's the profile on there? I know they're kind of presenting it as smoking glass, but I would assume that they smoke with their mouth and not get progressed.
That's yeah, and that's really my point or the one that I tried to make, which is, if you could be I apologize for this analogy, but you could be an alcoholic and need your vodka every day or whatever, or you could be a social drinker. You could drink Tuesday and Friday and maybe after golf on Sunday. To your point, this would turn addicted smoker into a casual social smoker like that. So the product isn't to an American blend. I'm not a smoker, by the way, so I can't tell you what it tastes like. And like every cigarette, for all the brands and blends that are out there, some love it, some like it, some say it doesn't taste very good. So we're working on our new blend. We're working on a new blend that's combining two different tobaccos that'll give us a little different taste. And actually, over the next, about a quarter, next 13 weeks, we're sending it to a taste testing forum so they can run the traps on it, and we can get all the flavors without having it be quite so inside the company.
And most of the okay, when I picked it up, it put about $6, but it's not fair, right? It's not that. So we found that people that use it after possession stock, really they start out, they're looking for the nicotine fix. They start pulling more cigarettes in the first week, right? Like where it's missing that craving film. And then you see a dramatic drop off week 2, week 3, and but it's very, let's just say in a 6-week timeline, you can see someone go from habit to the day to fall. But they just realize that that's missing something. Yeah, just notice it would be consistent.
Yeah. We're out of time. So appreciate everybody. Thanks. Welcome to 22nd Century.